All right, reviewing the exam, almost every fill in the blank it marked as wrong, and I had to go back and add points for it. And so if I missed giving you credit without giving you a reason why, right, for the fill in the blank ones, if I didn't give you a reason why and you didn't get any credit, or if I wrote great answer, right, and you didn't get credit for it, that's something I obviously have to fix. Alrighty, bools, true or false. Nobody got this wrong, I don't think. Doubles are floating points. So what's an int? Whole number. What's a character? Okay, these, some folks swapped. And I feel for you because in Python, single versus double quotes don't matter. But in the C and Java languages, single quotes are for characters, one and only one character, whereas strings are multiple quotes. What would this expression evaluate as? Nobody missed this. I don't know why they... All right, we're doing the review, so we just started. Go ahead and hop in. So 1 plus 2 times 5, well 2 times 5 is 10, plus some 1 is an 11. Here we do this thing in the parentheses first, so 3 times 5 is 15. What would the following expression evaluate as? 2 goes into 5 2 times with a remainder of 1. If I need to pause on this, slow me down. But a lot of these things, the vast majority of people got right. What would this evaluate as? Well, 10 to the power of 2 is 100, plus 11 is 111. What will z equal? This is another one. The vast majority got it right. 2 times 10 is 20. Then you add 1 to it. It becomes 21. Match the following symbols. The only answers that people got swapped are curly braces versus parentheses. Curly braces denote blocks of code. Right, you have an if statement, and then you have curly brace, and you have a block of code that's indented. So that's what the curly braces do. In the meantime, parentheses group parts of an expression, like 2 plus 1 times 5, right? The 2 plus 1 are in the parentheses. Or hold the parameters for a function. I think we all have the rest of these right. Match the following elements. Well, if they are words, but they are not variable names, then that makes them keywords. If they begin with a pound sign, with a hash, that makes them a preprocessor directive. If they're not a keyword, if they're things we made up, that makes them variables, identifiers. And symbols are operators. When a new value goes into a variable, the old one is lost. Yeah, that's true. Right? Once you set x equal to 10, whatever it equaled before that, unless you had it stored somewhere else, it's gone. Here's another one that the vast majority of people got right. The only mistake that I recall that comes to mind is that somebody did this, int age, like with quotes around it. Yeah, you got knocked off a little bit for that. You can't put the quotes there. That'd be a syntax error. And maybe somebody got the direction of the arrows wrong, right? See out, you know, please enter your age. And then CIN into age, and then see out your ages. Right. We know how to do that. I think everybody got that right, unless you left it blank. Oh, look at that. It's not letting me add a space. I don't remember seeing that as a problem on your answers. Did you ever get to a point when you were entering code where it wouldn't let the space bar work? Alright. How would I fix that? Okay, fine. Your age is age. ENDL. How odd. Okay. The only errors I remember are people maybe getting the arrows going the wrong way, or the quotes around the variable. So just about everybody knows what using statement we use because we type it in or boilerplate it every single time using namespace std. So what does iomanip do? Set W and set precision. String gives you the string class. That's pretty obvious. Math. See, math gives you math functions. IOStream gives us cout and CIN and EMDL. And so that leaves the last one. There weren't any sneaky extra answers. So the random and srand function should be in C standard lib. We good so far, gang? All right. Show why I think everybody got this right. But that's the ones column, the 2, the 4, the 8, and the 16. So that would be 16 plus, there's no 8s, there's a 4, and there's a 2. So that's enough, right? Because I gave you the answer. We were just trying to show why. Okay, a couple folks did get this wrong. If you have 3 variables being filled in, and the user types in 3 so-called tokens, which are pieces of data separated by spaces, the first token, the first value, fills the first variable. The second one fills the second variable. The third one fills the third variable. So which variable will equal 2? It was the first thing they typed, so it will go into A. Did that one get graded wrong for anybody? Question 14, were you knocked off unfairly for that? No one's saying so, so okay. Alrighty, given the following code, what goes here? Well, we need to calculate the pounds. And that's the wrong formula, by the way. Pounds is equal to kilograms times. Nobody pointed that out, I don't recall. But anyway, so if we follow the formula that I gave, even though, man, I think I flaked on my metric conversion several times this semester. Bless you very much. Let's pounds, LBS equals kilogram. Oh, I actually used the whole word, but I wouldn't have counted you off if you used the wrong variable, probably. Pounds is equal to kg divided by that value, 2.20462. Okay, so one of these equals a 1, one of them equals a 2, one of them equals a 3. Basically, the best way to do it would just be to take it one by one. So 1 plus y divided by 2. Well, y divided by 2 is what? Y is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3. So that would be the answer for this one. How about the next one? Y modulus x. Well, 4 modulus 3 is what? Yeah, it's 1. So that would have to be the answer for that one. And lastly, z divided by x plus 1. Well, 5 divided by 3 plus 1 is also equal to 2, so either answer should have worked. I finally figured out what Canvas had done. Is it swapped from my test file that I created the choices and the matches. All of 4 of those answers should have been on this side. And these answers should have been on this side, and that's why we wound up with strange things like, you know, blank lines that had no answers and stuff like that. So, bitter lesson learned. But anyways, so we had 2 correct answers that matched 2. And so either one would have gotten them right. Again, do you think you got knocked off on that one unfairly? Let me know. Here's one that almost everybody got it completely right. Now, don't say that to make somebody who missed it feel bad. It just means that I'm not going to cover it as well. But if you need me to cover it, let me know. Okay, so an int x, a double d, just going line by line, assign 10 to x, x equals 10. Assign x divided by 2.0 to d. And then increase the value of d by 1. And then display the value of d to see out. Like that. And again, it's not letting me hit the space bar in preview mode. To declare a variable, you give it a type and an identifier. Yeah, that's true. Int space x, type and identifier. C++ is certainly case sensitive. The statement if x equals 3 will not work if is written in uppercase letters, or if you don't get the variable's case correct. Now, a lot of people said that this was going to print Gaga. Wait. If A is equal to B. Well, is A equal to B? No, it's not. So it's going to print out Ringo. A lot of people just stop there. It prints out Ringo. But there was a second if. So not only did it print out Ringo, we have to calculate the second if as well. And so is B greater than A? Yeah, it sure is. So it's going to print out Gaga. So that was the second line of output. And if you only put one line of output, you only got half credit. No, you have to match your braces. It's not okay to have fewer closing braces. Consider the following code. X is equal to 4 plus 5. Double y is equal to y divided by 2. Okay, so things like that. This is kind of a repeat of an earlier question. What are those? Words like int and double. Are they? Yeah, they're keywords. And so what about symbols? That makes those operators. And so the values 2, 4, 5, and x are the things on either side of the operators, which makes them operands. A couple of folks got bitten by the fact that it does not assume the asterisk. You can't just put 2x. You got to put 2 times x. So A is equal to, and if you put parentheses around the top, that's great. It wasn't necessary. 2 asterisk x divided by, on the bottom it is, x divided x minus 3. All right, these are tedious. I would have gotten bored if I were y'all. Frustrated. I kept giving you these. All righty, so let's just take them one by one. X equals y. Is that a true or a false? X is 5, y is equal to 2, so is that a true or a false? That's false, so let's find a false answer and set it equal to that. All right, second answer, x mod y. Well, we've already established that 5 modulus 2 is 1, so that would be that answer. Third option, x divided by y, but it's integer division, so it's not going to be rounded down. I don't see any floating point answers anyways. But 5 divided by 2 rounded down is 2, so that one looks good. 3, 9 minus 2 asterisk x minus y. Well, 5 minus 2 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 9 minus 6 is 3. Fourth answer down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5. X not equal to 5. Y. Is that true? Is it true that x is not equal to y? Yeah, so that's definitely a true. Which leaves us one left. But let's go ahead and make sure that that's the case. That this equals 4. POW of x to the power of 2. Well, x is 5. So POW 5 to the power of 2 is 25. 29 minus 25 is 4. So that's correct. given the direct relations below. All right. Now this is the one that we're completely throwing out. I'm thinking that we didn't cover this well enough. That's one reason we're throwing it out, and the other reason is I got it wrong in my answer key, and if I get it wrong in my answer key, then obviously there's something wrong with the way the question is worded. So how is this supposed to work? I'm just going to open a notepad and go type something up. So if we have, memorizing it, x minus y, a minus minus, so x is 5, y is 2, and then we do a equals x minus y, a minus minus, c out a. Let's look to see what happens. So x minus y, 5 minus 2 is 3. Oh, you know what? Maybe we didn't get this one wrong. And then a minus minus, so 3 becomes 2, and that's what's printed out. Now, you and I had become convinced that that was not the case, right?
You said it was supposed to be minus 3. That's what you said.
But in this case, since it's on a line by, I told you wrong, since it's on a line by itself, it doesn't matter whether it's the first thing that happens or the last thing. Because since it's between semicolons, it's like this. You know, line 1 of code, line 2 of code, line 3 of code, and line 4 is equal to code. Then this happens on a line all by itself, so it happens regardless. If it had been written like that or written like that, it would give us the same answer. So is that making sense? I told you wrong, but is that making sense? Okay, so that should have been 2. I think most people chose 2. Here's where it starts breaking down a little bit, because the trick is that here we are incrementing a before we print it out. So if a equaled 3 at this point, the plus plus a changes it to 4 before it gets printed out. If you put plus plus in front of the variable, it's the first thing that happens on that expression. So it's like it would look like this. Same first line, and then the same next line, a equals x minus y. So that's still a 3, that's still a 2. And then the next line, we didn't do it in 2 steps. We didn't do that and then do that. Instead, we did it in 1 line. So 3 C out minus minus, or was it plus plus a? Yeah, plus plus a. And by the way, if we notice, it lost its less than symbols, so the syntax was completely garbled. But if we look at it, since the plus plus precedes the variable, it's the first thing that happens in the expression. Okay, so I don't know what I was doing here. That's totally wrong. X minus y, 5 minus 2 is 3, and at this point a becomes 4 and then prints out, whereas on the next choice it's written like this. In the suffix notation, a gets printed out and then gets incremented. So a prints out, which prints a 3, and then a gets incremented to 4. So that's how it was graded. But I'm going to go back and give everybody credit for it. I don't like the way the question was presented. It was kind of hard to see it. They were supposed to be, each on its own line rather than all pushed together on one line like that. So, but I'm going to give full credit to everyone for that one. Invalid identifiers. Which of these are wrong? Is the first one wrong?
First and third.
Yeah, that's definitely wrong because it starts at a number, and this one's definitely wrong because it's got a space in it. Nothing wrong with that one. Nothing wrong with that one. Underscores are fine. Ooh, and there's the blurry text one. Dustin did not like that. It was freaking his eyes out. I understand. Alrighty. So, what will be displayed? Y was 2, it becomes 3. X is 1, it becomes 2. Z is then, 3 times 2, which is 6. And then Z gets incremented to 7. But it's printing out all 3 things, not just 1. I think some folks put 7 here just because that was the last calculation. Or maybe they put a 2 there because that was the value of X, and they didn't do the Y and the Z. It has to do all 3 of them, right? Because we're displaying the values of 3 variables. All right, parentheses, multiplication, division, then addition, subtraction. Well, what do you know? It looks like the top one on mine. Maybe yours were randomly ordered. But parentheses, multiplication, division, and then addition, subtraction. Just curious, is it the top answer for all of y'all as well? Okay. How many operands does a binary, well, there's your answer. Binary means 2. So that's how many operands a binary operator requires. What's a binary operator? Something like this, A plus B. 2 operands, that's the operator. Those are the pieces of data that the operator works on. There's very few unary operators. The XX one is a unary operator because it takes only 1 operand. And plus plus X is the same. And also if you have an expression like A is equal to minus 3, that minus takes that 3 and flips it to negative. So the increment operators, the minus operator, there's got to be a better word for that, and the not operator are the only unary operators that I know of. But the answer is 2. Vast majority of people got this one right. You know how to create equations. V is equal to pi times. If you use POW, you could do that. POW R to the power of 2 times H. Or you could just say R times R. I don't think I specified. The only bug here is that some folk forgot to put a space here. So if you did this, C out, my name is, forgot the lessons. And then you did, arrow, FN, arrow, LN, arrow, ENDL. There's no space between the first name and the last name, and it didn't ask you to print out, my name is Fatboy Slim with no space. So you had to tack on one more thing. You had to put a space between those. Like that. Alrighty. I think I had a few too many of these. 10 and 3. X minus minus. 10 becomes 9. Y is equal to 3. Y minus minus. Y becomes 2. 9 to the power of 2 is 81. Following code. If the user enters 3.14, what happens? Well, they type in 3.14, and then that value gets stored in X, but X is an int, so it gets rounded down. Or it gets truncated is a better way to say it. It just drops everything after the decimal point, which to my mind is rounding down. But alright, so if the user types in my red fox, which variable will equal red? Several people chose X. Quite often I can see why people pick the wrong answer. I didn't get that one. My red fox, 3 variables. So X is equal to my, Y is equal to red, and Z is equal to Fox. So Y becomes red, since it's the second word. That makes sense, guys? Which is an 8-byte integer type? Several folk chose double. It's correct that double is 8 bytes on the operating systems we're using in here. Howsoever, long is also 8 bytes, so you couldn't just differentiate like that. And it says integer, and a double is not an integer, it's a floating point. So even if you didn't know the definition of log-long, you should know that a double is a floating point. It means double precision floating point. Holds twice as many decimal points, and the exponent can be larger. So, which can hold a larger and more precise value. I keep meaning to rewrite this one. You could argue that a long is more precise, it being an integer. Integers are exactly equal to something. It's exactly equal to 2 and so on. But I think most people got it right. A double can hold more than any kind of integer because it supports exponents. So it's definitely a larger value. And more precise, when I wrote the question, I was thinking like, decimal points. If an integer is limited to 3, 4, and 5, but your floating point can be, 1.2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In my mind, that means more precise. So, double. Is this true? If you have two integers and you divide one by the other, is the result rounded down to an int? Yeah, that's true. Write some code that will cast an int and store the result in X. And one person accidentally made it a double even though it asked for an int. So he didn't get credit for that. But there's 3 ways of doing it. If we're going to cast y to an int, you could say x is equal to inty, or you could say x is equal to int parentheses y, or you could use static cast. X is equal to static underscore cast less than int greater than parentheses y in parentheses. Now, obviously, that's the most complex one. And I suppose that it's also the recommended one now, since it's the most recently introduced C++ way of doing it. Which is a more true statement? You should use getLine every time, or you should use getLine if the input contains spaces? Somebody tell me. Yeah, definitely B. You only use getLine if, well, you could use it every time. But getLine is designed to read strings. And it's designed to read in strings that have spaces in them. All right, which one sets how many spaces? Well, the keyword is set. So set W. Which one specifies how many digits will be displayed after the decimal point? Well, if you combine it with the fixed manipulator, it's set precision. True or false? Set W must be called, is that true, each and every time? Is that a true statement? If you're using set W, do you have to call it each and every time? Now, everybody got it right, so somebody tell me the answer. Yeah. Set W it only changes the next piece of data coming along. So if you want to change the one after that, you better call it again. Now, set precision is not like that. Once you set it, if you say I want 7 digits of precision, then every single time you print any float after that, it's going to have 7 digits of precision. So that is not true. This is a set once until you want to change it. This is a set every single one that you want formatted. A value that does not change. It seems like a couple of people chose either global variables or local variables. But if something does not change while it's running, it's a constant. And so for some reason, maybe I got this as a book definition and they were being a little bit more specific than I would have been, but If you have to edit the source code in order to modify the value, that makes it a constant. And so a literal is a value that is hard-coded directly into the code rather than being assigned into a variable. I think if I just put constant there rather than literal, I think everybody would have gotten this right. A character literal, well, characters are single quotes and strings are double quotes. Which escape sequence goes to the beginning of the next line? We use it all the time. /n goes to the beginning of the next line. If you use a C++ keyboard, if you use a C++ keyword like if or while or whatever as a variable name, it's not going to work. If I say if equals 3 because I want to create a variable called if, that's not going to work. It's part of the grammar of the language, so it won't compile. Seems like the majority of people got this one right. It's a single if-else here. It's not like that Ringo Gaga one where we had 2 ifs in a row, and then nested inside them are some other ifs. So is A greater than B? 3, 4? No. A is not greater than B, so it jumps down to here. Is B greater than 10? No, it's not true. So it's going to print Ringo by my reckoning. What will this display? All right, have we changed the values, or what else has happened? Okay, B is 3, C is 4. Is 3 greater than 4? No, it's going to jump down here. Is C greater than 10? No. Did it print Ringo twice? Did I write a question where Ringo was the answer 2 times in a row?
Yes.
Okay, that was not quite my intention. All right, somebody tell me, is that an and or an or? It's definitely an and, because both sides have to be true for the result to be true for an and that's what this is showing. If one side is false or the other side is false or both sides are false, then the output is false. So it's definitely an and. Find 3 things wrong with this. Everybody found at least 2 things wrong, except for the folks who didn't put any answers. Just about everybody noticed that there was no input, right? So you had to have an input. It's missing a CIN, however you worded it. Some people just copied and pasted the code. What else is wrong with it? All right, since like half the class at least got all 3 of them right, somebody tell me what else is wrong with it.
There's no semicolon after conditional.
Yep, that'll botch it. I think we've talked about that. If you put a semicolon there, then this will happen no matter what, and it would treat this following else as a syntax error. So semicolon on if is the second error. Some folks said you don't have braces around a block of code. And yeah, that might be good programming style, but it's not essential to put braces around this unless this is more than 1 line of code. That's when they're mandatory. And so there has to be one more, which is that there's a single equal there. So you need a double equals. All right, were there any questions? That makes sense to everybody. It's okay if it didn't. Wave your hands now. We all good? All right. So memo to self, go back, give everybody credit for, I've already forgotten what question number was, 25. So thumbs up if you thought it was a fair, that you're expecting it. Thumbs down if you thought, oh, that kind of sneak attacked me. Thumb sideways if you didn't want to answer either one. Pull your hair out if you just want me to shut. No, don't do that. Okay. We're going to stop the recording there because I'm going to upload that separate from the rest of this.